There it is.
Hey.
Mama Shay said she's so excited.
I was trying to set it up on my computer.
It's hard to do like this setup with the computer though.
That's okay. We got it.
I always love your scenery behind you.
Oh, thank you. Some of my artwork here.
That's yours, your personal
Yeah,
artwork.
my personal. They're based on Freemasonic, Illuminati, and Odd Fellows. I think there's 18 of them. I really need to do more.
I love that. I love that you're like like passionate about like vintage antiques and kind of that gothic vibe that you have. When did you like start getting into that? Is there like a specific age?
Yeah, actually, there is. Since I was 2.
Wow.
Yeah, I I was just a boy, and my parents loved to go to auctions, and I loved, I liked whenever I would look in coloring books. I liked the haunted houses, and I was like, I don't know what that is, but that's what I liked.
Uh,
And then I was 4, and my auntie sent my sister a dollhouse with Victorian furniture, and my sister didn't want it because she was a tomboy, and I just wanted the dollhouse and the furniture. I didn't care about the dolls. And I spent hours rearranging Victorian sofas and chairs and lamps and grandfather clocks and grand pianos. The funny thing was, my father come down with polio that year, and my mother, he actually went into a coma. So my mother had my brother and me to stay with my grandmother. And she said, you can only bring one little tiny shoebox full of toys. Whatever you can fit in your child-sized shoebox, you can take. And my brother, who was 2, brought G.I. Joes and Hot Wheels and toy guns. And I tightly packed in all of that Victorian furniture. And my grandmother came out on the patio to see what we were doing. And Daniel, my brother, he was playing with his cars and making gun noises. And my grandmother had a penchant for calling us names that we didn't want to be called. So my sister Diana, she'd call her Diane. And my brother Daniel, she'd call him Danny. And she'd always call me Ricky. These were names we all hated. We hated these names. My father was Richard William. She called him Billy Dick. He hated that name. Anyway, she always had a penchant for calling people the wrong name. And she came out and saw my brother Daniel playing with his cars. What you playing with, Danny? Cars, he said. And then she says, what are you playing with, Ricky? And I said, dollhouse furniture. And she goes, okay.
uh-huh.
Well, I thought you'd bring cars like your brother. I said, oh no, just the furniture. I love this furniture. So yeah, I was just a wee boy. Yeah.
So I mean, but you're definitely about fashion, not only from the clothes you wear, but like your whole house, everything, like even your cars that you drive. And I was thinking about this the other day because when we first kind of talked about doing this again, and I was like, that is such an investment for like a passion. Like it's expensive. It's not cheap. None of that's cheap.
It's not cheap.
And what you do for like for a career, I mean, you're a tarot reader amongst other things. But I mean, how do you do it? I mean,
Witch for it.
you do what?
I witch for it.
You witch for it. Okay. Okay. What do you mean by that?
Well, there is a certain amount of manifestation that you have to do, right?
Right.
So for one, it was years and years of study and understanding the 19th and early 20th centuries. Even before under being a student of history. I love the 18th century. It's a little bit more light than I typically like, but oops, I fell over. Um, I like the 18th century, but I love the 19th century. Love it. So it takes a lot of years of education, and then to know what you're looking for. You just sometimes you find things that are the perfect thing, and it's a gift, or it was not expensive. I have driven as far as Arkansas for a piece. I just find something, I'm like, that is exactly what I've been looking for, and I drive all the way to Arkansas for it.
That's good. I love that. That's so cool. And New Orleans is because actually I think your childhood. You're from Missouri, correct?
I did grow up in Missouri. Hmm.
So you're from similar to me. I'm Kansas City. I think
I grew up
we
not
both.
far
I
from
think we
Kansas City.
do what?
I grew up not far from Kansas City.
Right. And I do believe that if I remember our last podcast, well, the first one, we talked about we both grew up Pentecostal.
We did.
So what was it that what was it that started to kind of steer you away from the religious belief? Because I remember you talking about even wanting to be a minister at one point.
Yeah.
But, see, I got good memory.
You do have you surprise me with all of the guests that you have, that you've remembered such conversations. I am surprised. Pleasantly so. So what got me away from the religion? It was a snowball event, you know. When I was well, as I grew up, I have one full brother and one full sister, and my father was a King James only Pentecostal, fire and brimstone, thus saith the Lord. That he was that kind of a minister, right. And he would say, "Well, the Bible says." And my sister would say, "Yes, Daddy. Yes, it does. Yes, Daddy. Yes, absolutely. Yes, Daddy." And my brother would say, "I don't believe in any of that garbage." And I would say, "Well, Father, the Bible does say that. But the Bible also says this other thing that's completely opposite from that." And he said, "Well, maybe one of those things, maybe they were just talking to a certain tribe at that point." And I went, yeah. That's kind of the whole Bible. It contradicts itself, so it can't all of it be true.
Right.
And oh, well, maybe it was true for that certain tribe and not for someone else. Maybe it was, but you can't quote that and say that it's a broad spectrum for everybody. Right. So I still kind of held on. I held on. I was a Sunday school teacher. And then right at the end, I was 24. I was coming out as gay, and I was still kind of attending church. I was a Sunday school teacher. I was a Sunday school teacher for the Quakers at this point.
I just want to. I don't mean to interrupt you. I do want to, because I got people already requesting up. But I want to give it about 10 minutes. Let's get a good conversation going, and then I'll start allowing people to come up. So,
sure. So I became a Sunday school teacher for the Quakers, and I could tell these kids didn't want to be there. I could tell their parents made them go. So I told them, I said, "Listen, here's the story that we're going to be teaching about. It's about morality," and I'd use a Grimm's fairy tale, and then I would read about 5 minutes, and I would say, "Now, as Quakers, we follow the tradition of our faith, and we sit alone and in quiet in the dark. Now, if you feel the Spirit of the Lord move upon you and you want to stand up and talk, you have the floor. Otherwise, you can sit in quiet meditation. And if your eyes are closed, you're in quiet meditation."
Right.
And then, of course, nobody would stand up because they didn't want to really be there. They just wanted time to sleep. So they did.
Right.
And then I was still kind of on the fence. I didn't really know. And I moved to Las Vegas. I was 25. My father had passed away. And I was waiting for my hair license to transfer. I was a hairdresser. And I was so broke. I got a job in retail because I had to right away. I had to do something. And I had enough. I had enough in my pocket for the bus one way, but payday was not for a few more days, and I was really living paycheck to paycheck.
Right.
And I thought, well, I don't know where I just moved to Vegas. I didn't know where I was going. I I didn't have a car, and I was still trying to figure out the lay of the land.
Mhm.
And I knew that if I took this one bus and it would go up to a certain street, that I would get off, and I thought that was kind of what it was. So I got off, and I didn't have a mobile phone, or maybe I did and it wasn't charged, whatever it was. And I thought to myself, you know what? Maybe sometimes I hide money from myself, and maybe there's money in my wallet. And sure enough, there was a $20 note hidden behind my driver's license. And I thought, oh, this is good. Okay, great. So I'll go in, I'll ask directions, and I'll see where I am. I'll get a little bite to eat. It'll be fine. And I wait in the queue, and I am one person from the register, and I take that $20 out in anticipation, and I unfold it, and lo and behold, it's a Christian tract. And it says, disappointed? Imagine how disappointed Jesus is. Why store up treasures on earth when you should store them up in heaven? And I went, oh.
Yeah.
And I wadded that up, and I threw it in the trash. And I walked back out to that bus stop. I didn't know where I was going. And in exhaustion, I went, and I felt that cross around my neck that I had worn since I was 16. And suddenly that cross weighed 1,000 pounds. And I ripped that cross off, and I threw it in the gutter, and I said, how dare you? I devoted my entire life to you. Twice on Sundays. I was there every Wednesday, and I was a dancer in the ballet, and working full-time, and going to school full-time. And I was exhausted, and all of this time, all of the money, all of the years that I had spent, you couldn't give me $20 so that I could get a bite to eat and get directions?
Right.
You are the master of the universe, He-Man. Why can you not provide me for $20? And then I got up, I dried my eyes, and I thought, okay, Richard-Lael, you can walk. You can find it. You know, you may be walking for 10 hours. You're going to find it. You know, you'll find a landmark, and you'll find it.
Right.
So I walked about an hour in several directions, and then I went a little further, found the street where I was, and I realized that I was quite far on one side to the other, but I was not far from the other street. I was like a block and a half down from the other big street.
Right.
So I walked and walked and walked, and then I found it. And I went, you know what? Jesus didn't find my way. Jesus didn't feed me. I did that.
Yeah.
And that was the beginning. And then, of course, I moved to San Francisco. I moved all over Europe. And then in San Francisco, that's when I started referring to myself as satanic. I'm not TST or
you're not involved with the temple of the satanic temple.
I disavow TST and the Church of Satan. I want nothing to do with either of those organizations.
But you do, so you don't even necessarily believe that Satan exists, correct?
Right. So what my thought is that there are energies that do exist, but Satan is a
bring up some people here in a moment. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Richard. I don't mean to.
Richard-Lael. So Satan is. It's okay. Satan is a Christian construct. It's cut whole cloth out of a fairy tale. Even Lucifer doesn't exist. Lucifer, Morning Star, was mocking a king. The serpent was a snake. All of these sort of weaving of the fairy tales together didn't really exist. Hasatan was the opponent in the Old Testament, which meant the opponent, and then Satan came about in the New Testament as sort of based off of Ahura Mazda and Angra Mainyu, the good and the bad. Anyway, I don't believe in the literal devil, but do I believe in energies? Do I believe in elementals? Do I believe in ghosts? Yes, absolutely I do. But to call it Satan is a Christian construct.
I see, and that's kind of where I feel like the religion versus the spirituality kind of comes into play, right? I mean, especially being, a psychic medium and reading tarots, and I'm sure you've had experiences. You've been on even paranormal shows like Ghost Hunters,
Ghost
um,
Adventure.
Ghost Adventures. Um, but to know that, then we understand that something is after, right? I mean, there's something beyond.
I don't know that there is. I know that heaven does not exist, and I know that hell does not exist. What I do think that does exist is this: time is an illusion.
Yeah, I agree.
It was Albert Einstein who came up with a theory of relativity because his friend died.
Mhm.
Einstein, who was ostensibly the smartest man on the planet, had one friend. One. This man died unexpectedly, so he boarded the coach to go pay respects to the widow. And he became transfixed at the clock in the town square, and that bus filled up and it pulled away, and he watched that clock. And that clock got smaller and smaller the further away he got, and then they went over a hill, and he couldn't see that clock anymore. And then he came up with a theory of relativity. My friend is like that clock. I can't see him, but it doesn't mean he doesn't exist in some plane. I just can't see him from my perspective. So does time do weird things? Yes. Does it flow backwards? Probably. Does it flow in segments? Maybe. Are there imprints? Yes. So when I communicate with the dead, I don't know if I'm talking to someone who is dead or if I'm communicating, melding with someone from a different time. I don't know. I don't care to ask.
Right. Well, because what only really matters is now, right? The present moment.
Exactly.
I agree. Would you be okay with me bringing up somebody and seeing what they have to say?
Sure.
Or,
Sure.
again, people, be mindful, be respectful. You don't have to agree with things, but if you can have a constructive conversation, you're welcome to come up. Real deal, you've been waiting for a minute. Welcome in.
Yes, I've enjoyed your conversation deeply.
A pleasure.
Did you happen to have any questions or anything that you wanted to discuss?
Well, I mean, it's always something, right? Like that's what I've always said. And where my heart lies is where when you say you know something, you're probably a little bit off.
In what reference?
To anything. If you know anything, if you say I know, you're probably a little bit off.
I'm not quite sure. I get that one.
You don't?
Uh-uh.
Well, I was like listening to the fellow that was on your
Richard-Lael.
cast a little bit earlier, and he seemed to know everything.
I mean, he knows what he knows, right?
Yeah. Well, I know what I know, and what I know is that I don't know anything.
That is okay to admit. Listen, I will tell you this. I do not know everything. I will never claim to know everything. If I did know everything, anyone who says they know everything is a liar. No one can know everything. That is impossible to know everything. The funny thing about clever people is that they can say, you know what, I don't know that. But someone who isn't clever or isn't intelligent will say, oh, I know everything. I know everything. I'm the greatest. I'm the best. I'm the smartest. I know everything there is to know. Believe me. That's the Dunning-Kruger effect. And oftentimes people who don't know anything claim to know everything. And they're the loudest about it. But I never claim to know everything. I tell people when I read, I see images, pictures, words, sounds, emotions, colors, pop culture references. I trust my intuition, but I'm looking through a small window into your world. I don't know what these things mean.
Okay.
Conduit
Okay.
nonsense.
So I heard most of that, right? My dreams have always told the future.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about that?
Well,
Because most people that I talk to think that I'm crazy for thinking that my dreams tell the future.
no, there is precognition, and it goes back to the fact that time is an illusion. So I don't think it's crazy at all. I have had several precognitive dreams, many, 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 in fact.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I got people that are interested in asking other questions as well. Thank you for coming up. Appreciate you. Appreciate your time. All right, who else we got here? We got a few more people. I believe Barbie, you requested up next.
Barbie, hello.
Hello, it's so nice to thank you for having me up. Thank you so much, and it's so nice to speak with you. I've been out here listening. I find so many things you're saying very, very interesting, and I really like a lot of the way that you're perceiving things, and really, I mean, my personal belief is irrelevant because I have friends from all over the spectrum. Just there are nice people, really truly good, nice people that believe in all different things.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yes. Do you, when this is just kind of off the top here, and if you don't, it's whatever. When you get into your groove and you're discerning, when you're discerning something about a situation, do you feel like some physiological changes within yourself and you're sort of in your mojo, maybe so to speak? Does that kind of happen with you and you can tell I'm in it and this is it? Would that be accurate?
That does happen. The major thing I tell people is to always trust your own intuition, because nobody wants to be wrong. So we will oftentimes say, maybe it's just me. I'm not going to say anything. And that happens to me still. That's when it bites me in the backside. And I go, okay, well, trust your intuition. So say what you see, number one. And number two, especially when I'm doing a seance or when I'm doing spirit work or when I am reading for somebody, oftentimes I'll say things that I think are absolutely ridiculous. Par exemple, I had a woman sit down. She and her husband came to see me. And the woman sat across from me, the husband sat to the right, and she was the first. She was the first up. And I said to her, I see a Tyrannosaurus Rex. And in my mind, I'm thinking, why do I see a Tyrannosaurus Rex? Maybe she's an ancient spirit. Maybe she's got that reptile brain of survival. Maybe she's trying to reach something with tiny arms. I don't know why I'm seeing this Tyrannosaurus Rex. And when I said it, those words, Tyrannosaurus Rex, her jaw hit the floor. Her husband's jaw hit the floor. And I said, well, I don't know what that means, but clearly that strikes a nerve. So whatever that means to you, that's just what it is. And she leaned in and whispered, that is the tattoo on my thigh. And I joked and said, I wasn't looking, I'm not looking, I'm not looking.
I love this.
So, oftentimes that's the way that it works. Now, I was on a show some time ago, years ago now, before Ghost Adventures actually came out. I mean, before I was on my first episode of Ghost Adventures. And, I live a lavish lifestyle and I really don't budget as well as I should, but, that's neither here nor there.
None of us do. None of us do. That's the complete norm.
I was on this show called Odd Men Out on Jubilee Media. And they called me up. They said, we know that you're a psychic medium. That's what you do. And we would like to have you come on the show. We're going to have real psychics and one fake. And I told the producer, I said, oh, this is easy. I'm going to tell you right now who she is. She's a woman. She's about 23 years old. She's mixed ethnicity. And she is really beautiful. She's going to have Googled how does a psychic dress. And she's going to come in wearing mandalas and beads. And here's the kicker too. She's actually psychic, but she doesn't know it. So I made the mistake of watching 3 episodes of Odd Man Out. And in every single episode, it lasted 3 sessions. Mm-hmm. And I was broke as a joke. Broke. I mean, I had a diamond ring, and I had a Mercedes, and I had vintage suits, and I lived in a mansion, but I was baroque. I didn't know how much money I was getting. I didn't care. I just didn't. I wanted to be greedy, right? So we were all gathered, and the first woman was rude. She was just awful, 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 awful. So I thought, you know what? I feel safe in knowing we can vote her out. And then we all voted her out. And I was like, great, this is kind of great. We all know that it's Paris who's standing next to me. Paris is the faker. Everyone knows that. Okay, this is great. So we go into the next round, and I had planned to vote for Paris. I had planned to vote for her. And this woman turns to me, this other woman, and she says, she did Reiki. And she says, maybe you're the fake. You're wearing makeup. And I went, well, I am on a television show, and my makeup, that's quite a thing to say. So I made the mistake, and I watched it, and I thought she had signed my name. She didn't when she voted. So I got angry. I got into myself, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make her pay. I'm going to make her pay. And then I walked up to cast my ballot. I had this moment. Should I vote for Paris? I know that it's Paris. She's standing right next to me. But that woman was also rude to me. And if I could get her share of the money, then that means that I would have more money. And then we're all playing this game, right? So why don't I just say that it is this other woman, even though I know that it's Paris? So I signed her name, and I put it in the box. And then they go back, and they asked us, we voted her out. And they said, if you would like to continue playing the game and you feel that the fake is still in the game, raise your hand. I raised my hand. I think the woman on the other side of Paris raised her hand. I am looking directly at Paris this entire time. I know that she's the fake. Nobody else voted to keep playing the game, thinking that the psychic was out, or the fake psychic was out. And then I said, I was like, no, you were next. Why did nobody vote? And then, of course, the internet dragged me. Oh, now he knows. Now he knows after the game. And I went, no, actually, I told the producer before. I just got greedy. So trust your intuition. Always trust your intuition. Your first instinct is probably right.
Well put. That was a good antidote of that. Very, very good. Sounds like you had a really enjoyable time on that.
It was a fun show. It really was fun. I mean, you know, I get a lot of hate mail from my time on Jubilee Media, but it was fun.
Does that come? I mean, that kind of comes with, you know. Do you think that that's just sort of a natural thing that people just want to hate?
It is natural, you know. Unfortunately, it is natural, especially when someone comports themselves in a way that is not normal, not usual for society. So, yeah, that happens a lot.
Marby,
what was your most useful situation?
What was that?
What was your most useful situation where you really felt like you were very useful to what was going on, and something was accomplished? What was your best accomplished in usefulness?
Well, I think it more is like on a personal level for me. I called after my father's passing. I called my mother every day for 20 years. She was my best friend, and I called her that day 2 years ago in November, and I looked at her, and in my mind I said, tonight's the night. Tonight is the night I lose my mother. It'll be 3 o'clock in the morning. Mm-hmm. And then my nephew called me at 3 o'clock in the morning, telling me that my mother had passed away. And so I think what that does is just confirm for myself, I'm not crazy. Then my mother comes to visit me, which is a weird thing to say because, you know, time, wibbly wobbly, rhymey things. But my mother comes to visit me. I had a lover who comes to visit me. That's another one that I saw that I wish I wouldn't have seen the death, but I did. it happens, you know. It just sort of it justifies, it gels within me. I'm like, okay, I'm not crazy. This is actually what I'm actually seeing. So
That's, that's wonderful. And I'm going to hop down off here, but I want to thank you so much for sharing all that with me. And you are delightful. You really are delightful.
so
And
much, lovely.
yes, and so enjoyable. Thank you so much. And
My pleasure.
Thank you, Barbie.
please drop me down.
Okay, gotcha. Maybe. Hold on. Bear with me.
I'm right here.
All right. So I do have a few more people that want to come up, but is there anything that you want to talk about before, or are you fine with just kind of doing this for the next?
Oh, I'm perfectly fine to have people come in. I quite enjoy.
Good, me too. I'm gonna go in order. Machine Elf, I do see you. I have Mama Shay, Candied, and then you, Machine. So I'm trying to get through everybody. That's why I'm trying to do the one question per person to be fair. Mama, hello.
Hi, Richard-Lael. Pleasure to meet you.
My pleasure. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you. What's up, JG? How's it going?
I'm doing great as always.
I've been so excited about this all day. Um, I want to know, like, what's the oddest or like most surprising reaction you've gotten from someone after they've received a reading or seance?
Ooh.
Oh, the most surprising. Um, After a seance or a reading, let me see. This one is a good one. This one is good. So I can't tell because of the nature. I can't go into full detail. But a friend of mine was suing somebody and she was going to court, and it looked good. Everything looked good, and she thought it was going to go great. She had a good feeling about it, and she says, "Well, what do you think? What do the cards say?" And I went, "It's not going to work. I'm sorry. You're going to go into it, but it talks about letters and communications that come up, and it's not good. It's not going to work." And she said, "Well, no. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. I'm just going to choose to believe it's a good thing." The next day, the case was dropped.
Of course it was.
Did you?
And then
did you-
she called me and she said, she called me. She's like, "Don't you ever read my cards again."
Got to be careful for what we ask for sometimes.
Right.
You have to always be careful what you ask for.
Would you say that, even to kind of tag on to that, would you say that there's times where the cards are up in the air and based off what you're reading, you're unsure of how it's connecting?
Well, yes, actually, I will tell you this. I don't like to get political, but I will get political for this because this is what I was doing. So, I am not a Republican. I am a liberal, and I did not vote Republican. I will not vote for Republican ever, especially not the new Republican. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. But I had been since when let me see, 2016, 17, 18, 19, 20, since 2020, I've had that fear that this would be the outcome, that this would be the results. And I drew cards. Actually, my mother even came to me in a dream, and we were sitting down having a lovely conversation, and then there was this pounding at the door, and she says, "I'll get it." She opens the door and she says, "Well, you've got Trump and I'm dead. Enjoy." I was like, "Mother, no. Mother, no. No. Mother, no." So I kept reading my cards, and will Joe Biden win the presidency again? No. And then I saw the debate, and I went, "Well, that's it. That's the end."
Yeah. You were very upset even on Facebook for.
I'm very upset. I'm still very upset. I will never get over this.
Yeah.
And then I asked, "Well, what is going to change?" And then this ingenue, the little child, the girl card came in, the new face, the new girl. And I went, "Okay." And the cards were up in the air. It was saying, "Well, she will win, but not really. She doesn't actually win. She doesn't actually take the office. And I went, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. And I was really nervous about it. And then of course on voting day, I, I hate when it happens like this because I'll tell you one more quick story. And I get to the voting machine, and I went, "Oh, I know it's Donald Trump. I know it is. Um, I know it is." And then in that, of course, the results are as they are. But I was a singing blackjack dealer in Vegas, and this is a funny thing. This is to get it away from the political realm.
Yeah.
I was a singing blackjack dealer in Las Vegas, and I would touch the back of. We had an automatic shuffler, and I would touch that card, the one card on top, and I knew how the entire hands, how they were going to play out. I just knew. And I would tell people, I would touch the top of the card and I would go, 17, 19, 18, I'm sorry, I've got 21. And then I would go through 17, 18, 19, 21. And they'd go, how did you do that? And I went, well, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I
I
remember
had
one.
the only remarkable experience
Oh, go.
that I have like witnesses that were there for was last year at work. And out of nowhere, I know nothing. I know shit about cyber anything. I don't know about crashes. I know nothing. I barely know how to work my phone. I'm an old lady, right? But I stop and just look at my boss and I said, dude, we're going to have a huge cyber crash like today. And then I kid you not, it was mere hours and that's exactly what happened. And it wasn't an attack, but a crash. And the next day she was shaking me by the shoulders like, how the hell did you know that? I'm like, I don't know. And like,
I don't know.
it's not important to me whatsoever. I don't know. I just had to say it. That's all.
No, that's absolutely. It's just an intuition. Trust your intuition.
All right. All right, Mama.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming up. People are just lining up. So
I know this is fantastic. Of course they are. Well, thank you, Richard-Lael. It was really nice meeting you.
thanks, Mama.
My
Bye.
pleasure, Mama Shay.
Fun. I didn't know you were a blackjack dealer. How long did you do that?
Oh goodness, I lived in Vegas, so it was a couple of years I did it.
It's Vegas.
I played Freddie Mercury. I'd sing, and then I would deal blackjack. So who do we have here?
Candy
Wild. Wildflower Art.
Hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Hello.
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Do you have any questions?
I was wondering if you believed in time travel.
Yes and no. It's a weird thing to say. Do I believe in time travel? I believe in time slips. There are recorded evidence of time slips, whether it be ghost ships or whether it be flying saucers or whether it be people at Versailles and they witness the procession of Marie Antoinette, or people staying in a hotel to find out that it was destroyed by fire 100 years ago. So do I believe in time slips? Yes. Do I believe in time travel? I think it is possible. I'm not smart enough to know how physical it would work, but psychometry, I think is what it's called, is where you touch an object and you can feel it. That's a way of time travel. Past life regression is time travel. When we read on history, when we absorb, that's a way of time travel. So does it exist? Yeah, I think so. And CERN or not, is there some sort of tear in the time continuum, whatever, flux capacitor? Maybe. Who knows? I'm not smart enough to know how it would work, but yes, I do believe it is possible.
Well, I don't really I don't necessarily, and I know you kind of mentioned this earlier, though, like the fact that time in itself doesn't really exist.
Yeah.
It's an illusion.
Right. So when things,
And one of
when
my
you say, go ahead.
one of my
Go ahead, Richard.
favorite sort of explanations of time, and there's two. So in Star Trek, they have the warp speed, right? And then the other one is Futurama, in which the Planet Express ship has traveled all over the known universe, right? Both are plausible in a way of time travel. So in Star Trek, they put a bubble around the ship and then they move through space and time. In Futurama, time and space moves around the Planet Express ship. Who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed. Candide, I appreciate you coming up. Thank you. You can always request back up, all right? Thank you so much. All right. I think we got two more. Machine Elf has been hanging out for a while.
Hello.
Hi, Machine Elf.
Thank you for having me. My question to you, Richard-Lael, is if the future can be seen by psychics like yourself, does that mean that the future is fixed?
No, because they are everything is an illusion. So all I say is these are probabilities. I do think that the past can be changed, but so can the future, because nothing is fixed as a fixed point. It's only it's a probability. A case in point is this one. I had someone, and I hope this woman is not listening. I hope she's not. But I had this man come to me, and he just was like, well, I don't know, just read. So I read the cards, and I said, oh, there's a woman in your life. It feels like it's a relationship that it's not really going anywhere, and it's really not the right one. This is not the right relationship for you. This is not where you need to be. And he goes, oh, okay. And then he called me. He's like, I broke up with my girlfriend. I went, no, please don't do that. Please don't do that. And he goes, no, it's really fine. You were right. We were just kind of stringing each other along. So what's next? And I went into my trance, and I said, okay, 3 months from now, you are going to meet someone in Los Angeles from your hometown in another state. And I'm not going to say because it would be too specific. I said, you're going to meet this woman. She's got red hair. This woman is from your hometown, but you don't know her. And what I see is that you're at a bar or some kind of party, and your friend already knows her. And he says to you, oh, let me introduce you to my friend. And she turns around, and there's this instant connection, and it's magic. And from where I sit, it looks like it's going towards marriage. So 3 months later, he's at a bar. He meets this red-haired woman. His friend says, let me introduce you to my friend. They start talking. They realize that they're from the same hometown, and they start dating. And then he tells her, oh, we're going to get married. You don't have a choice. My psychic told me. And she went, whoa. So because she needed to think about it, he went on and had an affair with another girl, and she found out about it. So it was back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And then he's like, well, I want to cast a spell. I want to get her out of my life. And I said, be careful, because if you do this, you will sever the connection. You'll end it. I don't care. I want her gone. Okay. So he does. And then it still is sort of, but I love you and I miss you and I need you and I love you and I miss you and I need you. They get back together briefly, and then they break up again for real. And then a year goes by, and she has met someone else. She's now engaged. And he says to me, well, I'm going to call her up. I have a ring. I'm going to go to her house. I'm going to drop on my knee, and I'm going to propose to her, because you said it looked like it was going to marriage. I said, it did, but you opened your mouth, and then you did this spell, and it's not going to work. He says, no, I think it will. I said, if you go and present a ring to her, you will never see her again for the rest of your life. If you don't do that, you might have a chance in the future. But if you do this now, you'll never see her again. No, I'm going to do it. So he goes and he does it. He drops on the knee, proposes the ring, and she says, how dare you? I loved you. I wanted to be with you. If you would have just come after me, I would have been with you. I wanted to be with you, but you've yanked me all over the place, and now I don't ever want to see you again. So it was going towards marriage. Think about it like this. If we were watching Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade in New York, It's really difficult on the ground to actually see the floats and the bands and the balloons because there's so many people and the buildings are so tall. But imagine now you are simultaneously on the street watching this parade. And you can kind of see the bottom of Garfield, and you can hear kind of the music of this marching band, and you can see the tail end of that float over there. But you don't know what's next. You don't know where it's going. But simultaneously, you are taken into a helicopter high above Manhattan. From this perspective, now you can see the entire parade route. This is what it looks like it's going to do. But could there be an accident? Could a marching band turn left instead of right? Yes, they could. It's not likely, but it could happen. There could be some sort of emergency. There could be some sort of an attack. From the air, you wouldn't have known that. You would have assumed this is the natural progression that things are going to go. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so it kind of makes it seem like there's two things going on. One, when you do foresee something, if you tell someone, that would actually change the future already. And then on
Right.
top of that, you're not actually predicting with exact accuracy like a god or anything. You're just able to see more of the situation than a normal person would.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
All right, cool. Well, I guess that was it for me. Thank you very much for answering my question. I'm really glad I got to talk to you. I've seen you on Jubilee, so I was tickled pink to to come up here.
Thank you.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much. All right, who else we got up here? That was actually that visual is perfect. The way you explained that. I'm guessing you've only explained it like that, a couple hundred times.
A few times. Is this Janelle?
This is Janet.
Janet, I'm sorry. My old tired eyes. You must forgive me, Janet.
Oh, forgiven.
Hi, Janet.
Hi. My question is, do you have any preparations, rituals, physical or mental, when you prepare yourself for your readings or for your trances? Do you in any way get yourself ready? Is there anything, water, tea, any special things that you do?
That is a great question. And yes, the answer is yes, I do. The first thing is ritual bathing is so important, especially if I'm doing a seance, because that's a lot of energy. So I take a bath and I put rose water and I put sea salt and I put honey and sometimes I'll put vanilla and sometimes I put champagne. Like it depends upon what my body needs, and that's important. I bathe ritualistically at least once a week with all of those ingredients in the tub. I shower, of course, every single day. That washes off all of that negative. Before I do a reading, though, now whether it be a seance or whether it be reading of cards or of intuition, breathing is essential. So I have myself and the receiver to sit up nice and tall, feet firmly up on the floor, palms up in the receiving order, and then slowly take 3 deep cleansing breaths, inhaling through the nose, hold it, exhale slowly out of the mouth. Ooh. And I have them do it 3 times because, for one, it's the mind, the body, the spirit. It also helps me to cleanse my cards. It helps me to center myself. It helps me to clear my own mind because I get lost in my own head sometimes too. So when we exhale out of the mouth, ooh, those voices can't talk to us. And then we become a vacuum. So that's when we open it up, all of these things start coming in.
Okay, so any special dietary teas, waters, anything like that?
Well, I love tea. Tea time is my favorite thing. I drink entirely way too much. Earl Grey, I drink a lot of Earl Grey. But specifically, I like London Fog. I just enjoy it. And I think that's part of what should be your intuition. It's your you time, whatever makes you happy. Time is relative, but it's short.
Well, you sound delicious
Thank you so much, Ms. Janet.
with the
Thank you so
bathing
much.
and
Thank you,
everything.
Janet.
Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you, Janet. I do appreciate you talking to some of the guests, so I do appreciate that. Thank
Oh,
you.
of course,
And
of
that's
course.
kind of
And
why.
I see.
Go ahead.
Go on.
I said I wanted to try it on here because I do find that the way that this platform kind of brings in the crowd is totally separate than like YouTube and Facebook and all
Wait.
this. What were you gonna say?
I was going to say I even like the ones that are not so nice. What someone said I was a grifter. That's okay. I'm fine with that. I don't care. It does not affect me. I deal with skeptics. I love skepticism. Skepticism is great because if we didn't have skepticism, we would believe everything. So it's good to have some skepticism. I'm perfectly fine.
I did want to ask you about some of the stuff that we haven't talked about, like with your being on Ghost Adventures and things like that. First off, how did you get involved in that, and how did you participate?
Well, it was really funny. So I was living in Los Angeles in a lovely Victorian mansion, and I was a celebrity impersonator. That was what I did. I did film and television. I was on America's Next Top Model, and I had done I'd done things. But I've always been clairvoyant, and the company that I worked for, my full-time company, was closed for renovations. And I went, oh, I have bills to pay. I have very expensive taste. I have antiques to buy. I have to find work. So I went on to the social medias and I just announced, I've been reading cards. At that time, it was 10 years. I've been reading cards for 10 years, and now it's closer to 20. It's like 18 years now. I've been reading cards for all of this time, and if you're curious, I would love to have you come to my house and I'll read for you. So I got really, really busy, and then it got me onto a podcast, which got me onto another one, and then that one had me introduced. I co-hosted for a while, and then that one of the special guests was Patty Negri, psychic medium, from Ghost Adventures, and so she came over to my house for tea, and we did a seance together. And then Ghost Adventures asked her. They said, "Okay, here's the deal. We need someone who is eccentric. We need someone who is higher end fashion. We need someone whose house is haunted, but someone who is haunted, someone who is engaging." And Patty said, "Boy, do I have a handsome devil for you."
What was your experience like? I mean, were there things about it that you didn't like when you walked into it you didn't expect?
They were great. It was really great. The funny thing was, they were going to send me away to the hotel, and they had asked me last minute to do a seance. So I changed, I got dressed, I did my spiritual cleansing stuff, and it was about 10:30 or 11 when I was going to get dressed to go, like, just go out to the hotel, because so they could be on lockdown and have the place to themselves. And Zach Baggins came out and he said to me, "We have so much activity here. We have not seen this kind of activity in a long time. And quite frankly, we're almost done. So if you want to stay here, you can stay. I mean, we're almost done." So I stayed. And Zach was really pleasant and really kind to me. And, he walked into my house and he says, "This is my best Zach impression. Whoa, whoa. This is kind of like what I want my museum to look like. Okay, everyone, listen. These are fine antiques. And if you have to move them, do not drag them. This is what I want my museum to look like, okay?"
Oh, that's too funny. That's funny. Looks like Candy wants to come back up and ask another question.
Hello again.
Hello again.
Um, I was wondering if you've ever had any experiences with the Fae.
Not as much as what one would think. I mean, the Fae are really particularly associated with sort of more Irish, Welsh area. However, there are animal spirits, human spirit. I mean, woodland spirits. And are they called Fae? Yeah, I guess they are. I have encountered some things that are they are at times terrifying. I grew up in the woods, and we had in Ireland they would call them the Tommy knockers in the mines, and so things will always knock around when I'm near. So that's something. I have seen when I lived in San Francisco. Are they aliens? Are they Fae? Are they spirits? I have no idea. I don't care. I went out to the Presidio, and I ended up by doing a midnight meditation at the Sutro Baths, and I started feeling like which overlooks the sea, and I started feeling like I was being watched, and then I started seeing these lights in the sky, and they were all swooping down, and I went, okay, you know what? I think I need to go. I think I need to go home. I think I need to I'm going to take a taxi. I'm not going to even take a bus. I think I'm done. So yeah, I've seen the lights in the sky, and I've seen things.
What were you gonna say?
They're not. Hmm.
I've seen the lights before too.
What was that? Oh, you've seen the lights too. What was your experience?
So I've had 3 different experiences. One time, it got like super close to me, and then started like spinning away from me. And then another time, it once again got super close to me, and then like zoomed out. And then another time, I was like out at night watching the stars, and they were everywhere, just like dancing around and doing their thing.
Wow,
What exactly are?
that's
what are,
amazing.
like, what are they?
I think they watch us.
I was gonna say I'm not really sure of the term of Fae. I don't know what that is.
The Fae. Oh,
It basically means fairies,
Okay.
but Fae is really it's really like a Celtic sort of idea, but they're not necessarily like the cute little pixies that we think of in fairy tales. Sometimes they're beyond comprehension. What do I know? I don't know. I don't know what they are.
Thank you, Candied. All right. I do want to, we're getting ready to hit that hour mark, so I do want to again thank you as always for coming on here. What do you have going on as of today? Like, what have you been into lately? Like, is there anything other than the ordinary day-to-day life of Richard-Lael that you're getting involved in
There's a
lately?
lot of ordinary day to day. I mean, my ordinary day to day is pretty fabulous. I wake up and I make tea and I run the Hoover, and then I complain about the maid because I don't have one. But I do teach classes at University Magicus. I am planning a trip to Scotland. I hope it goes through. I'm not entirely certain that it will, but I'm supposed to be in Scotland next year, July 15th through the 25th. That's still in the works. Who knows? I hope it goes through. I do seances here. I do readings. You can come and have tea in my house, and all of my seances, all of my readings come with tea
I love
here in my house.
Last question, and it might be a doozy. What's the most recent antique that you have gotten in possession?
Oh, most recent antique. I think it is. There's 2 things. So there is a sofa and chair set in Texas that I'm supposed to go pick up in 2 weeks. But that's not here yet. And I don't know where I'm going to put it. It'll probably have to go into storage. But there is it's great. It's a beautiful 1880s. I think it might be Herder Brothers, which doesn't mean anything to you, but they were designers in the 19th century. You know, they were Gilded Age. Anyway, there is a beautiful gilt bronze French garniture, which is like a chalice or a cup with a lid on it, like an urn, and it's got enameled porcelain and gilt bronze. It's fabulous.
That is so amazing. Like, I've always had, like, when I go into antique stores, I love looking at old stuff. I don't really think it fits my little cabin theme that I got going for me. I like the whole cabin foresty look, you know. It's kind of my thing.
I don't mind a cabin in the forest as long as the cabin in the forest is that castle in Germany.
Well, Richard-Lael, it's always wonderful to talk to you, and I really do appreciate you coming on again. And like I say, we don't keep in touch daily, but we stay in touch, and we always will. So I do appreciate your time.
I appreciate you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody who joined.
Yes, this was a lot of fun.
Everyone.
This is a little different aspect.
It was a lot of fun.
Do you ever go live on here, or have you before?
I haven't in a long time. I need to get my derriere in gear. I really do.
It's fun. It's just fun. I like enjoying the random people, and I've definitely met a community on here that they enjoy talking to me. I like talking to them. But I really, my biggest passion has been interviewing people, like reaching out to people like you, and just meeting new people, and kind of having that connection and staying in touch, especially with the ones that I really appreciated. So, yeah.
There is, I'm going to butcher the name, P.H. Phlegatic.
Oh, Phlegatic. What's your question? He doesn't typically come on, but he can if he wants. What's your question, Flag? Oh, hi, Cammy Bell. Cammy Bell would probably have a question, actually. What's your question, Flag? He's probably typing it up. Cammy, we will be wrapping up soon. But if you do have any questions for Richard-Lael, you could always hop up real quick. Even after leaving God, have you ever done a reading where God intervened?
No, because God doesn't exist. Not that God.
When you say that God, what are you referencing? Like, what do you believe?
Well, I will firmly admit that there is no such thing. If there is a God, it is certainly not any of the Abrahamic gods, ever. Are there energies? Maybe. Do they demand worship? No. I mean, there is a being who has been with me since before I was born, and she could be interpreted as a goddess. How do we purchase your art? Message me on Instagram. It's easier because I have my website, thegentlemanpsychic.com, but I get so many emails. I never check that. So Instagram is best. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there is a God that does exist. I know that there are beings that I have seen, but they're not human, and they don't require worship. So I don't know what they are. I don't actually care what they are. But I will say, beyond a shadow of a doubt, I know that the Abrahamic gods do not exist because they can't. They war. Even in their own stories and books, they war amongst themselves. They can't exist.
And you're pretty well read too, even within the Old Testament and the New Testament, or
yeah, I've read the Bible numerous times. I studied to be a minister, so yeah. The Abrahamic gods, and this is Yahweh, Allah, and Jesus, cannot exist. They can't.
I actually know a lot of people that'll even argue, like, not necessarily like the way you interpret it as, is there a God? Yeah, possibly. But there's a lot of people out there that actually are that way as well. That they just, is it a Christian God? A Christian God? No. But that's like, I don't believe hell exists. I mean, I think that we're enduring enough physical stuff here, in itself. It's like, why would we go somewhere where you're just eternally just be ripped to flesh, and it just doesn't make sense.
Exactly.
Daniel Bravo says, what? Yeshua doesn't conflict with Yahweh.
Okay, whatever. I'm not going to argue. Whatever.
Cammy says, how did you discover you were psychic?
Well, by accident. My mother and father both were psychics. Not they were Christians, so they didn't believe that they thought it was spirit, like prophecy. I knew when I was a little boy. I knew that my father was going to come home for my 5th birthday. He had polio and was in a coma, and that I knew that he was going to pass away on my 25th birthday, and he did. So that was the condensed version of that. But that I was 4.
So young, so young. Again, I want to wrap this up as we hit that hour mark, but I really appreciate your time, and I do want to stay in touch. And
Anytime.
We'll probably do other things again.
Anytime, my friend.
All right. Copy Bear, I see you just showed up, but we are going to head out. It's been about an hour now. I do appreciate this time, and I would love all of you for coming up and asking questions. And until next time, everybody, we'll see you around. So thank you so much. And you can find Richard-Lael Lillard at The Gentleman Psychic on Instagram. Is your website The Gentleman Psychic as well?
Yeah, Gentleman Psychic. I'm so easy to find. I'm everywhere. Facebook, YouTube. I'm not on Nazi Twitter. I am here. I'm everywhere.
I don't like Twitter either. I've tried it. I just can't get into it. All right.
I never liked it.
Have a wonderful evening. Good night. I'm trying to. There we go.